And I think I can see quite a few people have joined from the first session, which is really encouraging. Thanks so much for joining us again. We're going to be speaking today about approaches to network building, which is obviously something very close to our heart at CSC and something we've been thinking about quite a lot recently. It's also something that came out really strong when we did our network survey recently. Kind of network building and finding partners to work with was something that there was a really big appetite for that when we shared our network survey recently. And also something that we've been thinking about quite a lot as we're working through our kind of new strategy for the next 5 years, kind of how we can work through networks to maximize impact and kind of strengthen our work. So I'm really excited to be sharing this session with everyone today. And to introduce to you our two speakers. But just before I do that, just a couple of housekeeping bits. There will be a chance to ask questions after the two presentations. But feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box, let us know who you are and where you're from. And also, as the speakers are presenting, feel free to ask any questions in the chat box as well that we can come back to during the Q&A, or when we have the Q&A, also feel free to turn on your camera and microphone if you want to ask a question. Just let us know, just raise your hand or let us know in the chat that you want to do that. So either are welcome. So I think everybody's joined now, so thank you so much for, as I say, sticking with us and being patient while we figured out our Zoom technical issues. I'm going to hand over to Tijani, who's from Muslim Family Counselling Services in Ghana, who's going to speak to you about the work that they've been doing there. So I'll hand over to you, Tijani.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I hope the network is fine here. Good. All right. So good morning, good afternoon to everybody all over CSC network. Today we are going to have a discussion about building a network from the experience of me on behalf of the Global Alliance, building a network in Ghana to support street connected children. So may we have the slide on? All right, thank you very much. So the name of our network is Global Alliance for Street Work, which is an alliance or a partnership of organizations working with street connected children with the focus of trying to help us develop our street work program, and then also be a voice for street connected children's issues, and also advocates with the government and other agencies. Next slide. So for this slide, we're going to look at the purpose of the network, or why did we decide to form the network? And then we're going to look at the process. How do we go about it? How do we go about identifying partners or potential partners? And then how we were able to build that support or build the idea of a network with our partners. And also, we're looking at some lessons learned, as well as successes that we achieved, the challenges that we had to go through, and then the way forward for our network.
We may have lost Tijani briefly. Can you still hear us, Tijani? It might be worth maybe turning your camera off to see if we can hear you a bit better. The connection seems to have been lost. maybe in the interest of time, maybe Gilbert, if you wanted to start with your presentation, and then we can come back to Tijani. Is that okay?
Next slide.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so Jessica, can I start now? Yeah. Okay. So I bring you greetings from Ghana, precisely Kumasi, but to everyone here, either this morning or this afternoon. So good morning, good afternoon, but to everyone. Yeah. Okay. So while it is quite unfortunate, our internet this morning is preventing TJ to finish his. Okay, so I will be talking about the local network building and our processes, how it's been done here. Specifically, we are using the example of Kumasi. We would also talk about the successes so far through our networks, and then the challenges and other suggestions. Okay, so I would like us to have, just please, let's go back. So I would just like us to have a look at this picture and a few, like, as reflections. So looking at the various notes, the colors, the pinks, those notes there, the red, yellow, which represents the connections that we have, as well, the collaborations. Now the trends, as in where the thread in there, which is woven, also talks about the commitment of other organizations, with all organizations. So you could see how we are trying to build a safety net for street connected children. So if we, like, as in, imagine how individual organizations come together to create a safety net for our street connected children, how these nets would be around it. Okay, so we keep reflecting about some of these things. So please, next. Okay, so I will start with why the network, specifically with Matic. One of the things that was really pertinent for us for establishing some of these networks, connections, and partners is that to provide comprehensive service to our target groups, that is the street connected children. So you could realize that, yes, we have individual organizations have the kind of support they provide to our target group, street connected children. But in the process of our needs assessment of these children, we realize that their needs are sometimes beyond what you provide alone. Definitely, you would need to leverage on the strength and resources of other organizations to be able to provide this comprehensive support to them. So that is also one of the pertinent reasons for this network. And if you could see this picture, you could see that we were doing an advocacy together. So as part of these network groups, we also advocate together, especially on International Day for street children, the World Children's Day. As network groups in Kumasi, we all come together to celebrate it, and through that also advocate for the rights of street connected children. And also, yes, I've also mentioned about the leveraging of these strength of other organizations and resources, and then also complementary practice exchange. So as part of these networks, we also try to exchange other working practices on how to be able to work with our children and provide them the best safety that we could. And then also contributing to policy making and then decisions too as well. Collectively, we can have one voice to also let the local government authority to know the measures that can be put into place to provide the best for these street connected children. So in our subsequent slides, we would also get to know and then understand how our networks was done, the processes that we went through, and then the various challenges, and then how our efforts also, like as intertwines in the process of creating a safety network for these street connected children. Next, please. Yes, so setting up the local network. So we did identify key organizations who had interest in the process, in the welfare of street connected children. This side, I'll just mention them, but every of these as a processes is well detailed in the subsequent slides. And then also engaging potential partners. So in the next slide, we will also talk about how we did this engagement, how we were able to also identify these key organizations who had interest in what we do. And then also the collaborations that we started, collaborations that has gone on before finally we were finalizing our partnership and then our networks. And then the various agreements and structures that we have put into place to be able to strengthen our network groups and partnerships in the Kumasi metropolis. Okay, next, please. Yeah, okay. So, sorry, please. Okay. So identifying organizations with similar groups. Yet, so we work with the street connected children and then other children. So how did we connect with ourselves? Getting to know people who have similar goals with their organizations and groups. Yeah, we have the Department of Children, which is also a local government institution. So under the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Child Protection. Now, so this Department of Children in all the regions have a child protection committee where other institutions that works with children, we usually meet quarterly, or they have a design program for the year where we meet to discuss about trending issues affecting children within the region. So there are a lot of institutions from the health sector come, reps from the prison service, from the security service, and from the social welfare in general, reps come, and then other organizations. So these are other platforms where we are able to also network with other organizations. So identify other ones who also work similar to what we do. Or we also get to know others who are also doing things that we think that we can leverage on them, their strength, to be able to provide the best for our street connected children. Okay. Then the Department of Social Welfare, which is also another department under the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. They also have an NGO database. So in all the regions, so if you would want to set up your NGO, or you would want to locate other organizations who also have similar goals and objective as what you do, they also have NGO database, because they renew the licenses of non-governmental organizations or non-profit organizations within the region. So they have database of these organizations, so they can provide you with some of these documents. So in our case, like Chance for Children, when we were coming to Kumasi, there were existing organizations already working with street connected children. So how we were able to connect with them, that we also had a database from the Department of Social Welfare where we were able to fish out some of these organizations. Then the other activities that went also continue from there. Now, this same Department of Social Welfare have as a stakeholders meeting that they usually organize with non-governmental organizations who also work to provide safety for children. And then this is called the Integrated Social Services Initiative. So this initiative started when they decided to also how do we as organizations cooperate together? How are we able to come together, especially in terms of case management of the clients that we are working with? How do we refer our children to other organizations for support? So how do we manage them? Yeah. So the ISS is also another platform where we all meet quarterly to deliberate on some of these issues, the difficulties we are having, and then areas where we can work together. And then it's been helpful. Now also utilizing local resources and other existing networks. So in the quest to get other partners to, we now work within the communities. We have groups, we have local, like I said, committees there, we have elders. So all these are other resources that we were able to fall on them to be able to identify other groups that we also work with them. Now, another platform where we can identify these organizations with a similar goals is we have this platform that I joined. So that is the Ghana Nonprofit Professional NGO. Let me. Yeah, so we have this Ghana Nonprofit Professional Network. So this WhatsApp group also connects other NGOs. So other NGOs. So this basically, so like as across all the regions. So we are on these platforms where we share the progresses of what we are doing, our successes, the challenges that we have, the areas where we are working, our strength. So through this platform, we are able to also link up with other organizations as well to provide the best for street connected children. Okay, next please. Yeah, so now the processes. So we've now moved from how we are able to identify these groups. So now how do we engage with them? Yeah, so in our case, being transparent in our interactions has also been a very strong pillar in our foundation, the partnerships and then the networks that we have so far. So building this trust was very crucial, and then it's been very helpful for our successful partnership. Now, seeking collaborative projects. So you could see this picture over there, which talks about a report on head counts of street connected children within our district. So you could see that we not final, like, so we decided to also carry on some projects together. So immediately we did like as an identify other organizations who also work in line with us or who could also support us in what we do. We came up with areas where we can come together to start some small projects and this would lead to how we would deepen our relationship, definitely for long-term partnerships. Yes. And then also we also personalize our outreach. So that is reaching out to potential partners directly was also another way that we were able to engage with our partners. We shared our findings and then even internal data with stakeholders. That okay, so this is the number we are working with. These are the number that has this issue. This is our strength. So how can we come together to be able to work on with the gaps that we do have? So sometimes going personally to some of these organizations, balancing the online and then the face-to-face communications has also helped. And now also answering the why. So anytime we did approach other partners or other organizations that we want them to bring them aboard, we make them know why it is very pertinent for them to join the partnership or to join the network, or why they should like support us or leverage their resources to create this safety net for these street connected children. So letting them understanding the why is also very important in engaging with partners. And also regular communication. Maintaining these regular communications as well has also been also grateful. And then it's been helpful to us as well. So once a while, we do pass by our other partners. Let's say Tijani's office, we pass the Safe Child and then other organizations around. So just to still deepen our relationships and then having regular contact. So this is also another way that has helped us here. Next slide, please. So our collaborative strategies. So moving from identifying them and engaging them now. So how do we collaborate in other areas? So here, the groups that we have now, where we are all working to provide the best for street connected children. Now we do joint projects. So we did this head count on the street to know the number of street connected children in our area, and then how best we can support them. Now, during the COVID era session, so because we were having this strong partnership, so we were able to come together to provide the best. We put resources together, and then we realized that yes, the numbers were many, and then we can't do that alone. Okay. Okay, so then our joint street work too as well. So we also have monthly joint street work where we do together. So these are ways where we also collaborate together, and then organizing advocacy programs. So next, please. Yes. So after a period of our collaborative strategies, doing things together, deepening our relationship, now we move forward to formalizing our network. So we try to formalize our networks, and so this is through an agreement or establishing an MOU or partnerships, and then detailed responsibilities and how we would govern our relationships too as well. Okay, next, please. Yeah, so now the challenges so far that we have. So as a group of partners or network, now we have social networking issues. Though we have WhatsApp platforms that we sometimes meet. So how many of these platforms do we have? We were also looking at if you come to the region, is it necessary to go to the Department of Social Welfare to be able to get a database? How don't we have a platform which is managed by these departments where you can fish out some of these organizations from their straightforward, and then have those interactions with them? So meaning everywhere across the country you can do that, but not to travel long distances to Kumasi to have engagement with those ones. Now we have low commitment due to work schedules and commitment to other events. So this is also another thing that has also become a challenge for our partnerships and the network as well. We have commitment to other engagements. Now, lack of funding to carry out projects or handle identified issues in the region too as well. So that has also been an issue because every organization also have we all have our project or our goal that we would want to achieve. So sometimes pulling resources together to carry on some projects or to handle some identified issues sometimes is an issue. So now the operational disparity, the differences in how each organization works, maybe our religious or faith backgrounds and other things also have an effect in sometimes carrying out some projects or some kind of workshop that we would want to carry. So sometimes operational disparity also have challenges in what we do. Okay, next, please. Yeah, so in conclusion, so in the quest to provide a safety for street connected children, which is also and indeed a priority, because we think that is the best way that we can provide the comprehensive support to our street connected children, creating that safety for them through networking and then collaborations, because we can't do it all. We need the support from others too as well. And then I think this is also a call for for action that we should be committed. So as I've also talked about the challenges, so low commitment. So if we would want to build this safety net for children through collective responsibility, then we should be active in our participation and the commitment in some of these networks. Okay, so next slides. Okay, so I would also like to end here and thank you for your audience. And then I believe that together we can change the narratives of street connected children through building a safety network for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you. I really like that description you used at the beginning of the kind of the safety net that we can create as networks for street connected children. Thank you, and thank you for stepping in. Tijani, I think you're back with us, so I'll share the slides for your presentation, and hopefully the network will be kind to us.
Good, wonderful. Hello once again. Okay, so I think there's a lot of similarities with what Gilbert has said, so it will go a bit more faster. Can we go to the next? All right, so I think I talked through this one. Can we go next? Yeah. Okay, so in building the network, these are some of the reasons or the purpose that we identify as very useful, or the reasons why we need a network. For instance, we know that each organization is reaching out to a number of children, but then there are some children who are also falling out of service, and so it's important that we build our resources together so that we can reach more children. And also the tendency to do similar projects in the same area is also there. And so if we are working together, it is understood that each one will know the boundaries of each other, and then we can spread out resources to be able to cover more children. Another purpose for bringing the network is also to learn best practices, because there are a number of organizations working in a particular area. Each organization has its own expertise, and there are quite a number of organizations that have longer years of experience. And so working together, the organizations with a smaller years of experience will learn from those with bigger experience. Those with bigger capacity will also be able to support younger organization. And in terms of advocacy, that is also important, because a lot of the times when you are engaging with policy makers and the duty bearers, the tendency is that if each organization is speaking, they tend to forget what the issues are or where they should focus. But then if all of you are speaking together and you put your issues together, then they are able to follow and know the right issues and where to tackle. And so identifying that there's an advocacy agenda to pursue, then we deem it right to come together so that we can speak with a common voice. Next slide. Now the process, I think Gilbert talked to some of these similar processes. It includes visitation. So after identifying who else is working in that area, then you need to identify their areas of operation or where they are located. And then you need to do the person-to-person contact, which is very important for them to see you, to also know where they are. One other thing that we also did was to, first of all, try to work together to begin to learn about each other's work culture, how they do their things and the rest, so that by the time you are coming together, you have a brief background or brief understanding of what this organization is about. Because you can go to the office, you can see the organization, they could have all the relevant things in their books, but then maybe on the ground, they are not using the right processes. And it will help you to know who is up and who you can partner. And also, by doing that, you also be sharing information about what they are doing. And then after doing that and identifying a prospect, those prospective partners, then you formally have to organize a meeting or invite them to come and then share, sit together and discuss the idea of partnering together. Next. And so after sitting together, then it is important also to understand what are the objectives of this network. So you need to be clear with the partners about what you want to achieve. And then we also need to be clear that it is a commitment and it is mutual commitment. It's not because one organization is leading or is bringing the idea. That doesn't mean you have all the resources, you have everything to do, and the other side is only going to receive. It needs to be understood that we are all coming together to share experiences and share resources. And then after doing that, within coming to the networks, every organization has its own purpose of coming to the network. But then you need to understand also is that each organization also needs to, as a result of being a member of the network, to also have his or her own capacity built. And so there's opportunities to let members understand that they can build, or there are opportunities to support them to build their capacities. And also this capacity building, we really understood that within us, sometimes you don't need to go out. Within the networks, people have various expertise, and if they are willing, they can give out their expertise to be able to support each other. Next. Yes, so this drives into the lessons learned. One lessons that we learned coming together is that we saw that there is a huge wealth of experience and resources available within this network. Sometimes we might think we need this, we need that, not knowing that the organization that is within your network, we have various experts. We have people with experience, people with capacity to be able to support. And so when it comes to capacity building programs, trainings, and the rest, we normally find somebody within the network who has that capacity to train network members. And also, what we understood is also that a lot of these organizations have the passion. A lot of people have the passion to support. They just mostly need the support. You might see them maybe doing things or not doing things to that standard. But then if you had understood that the capacity is there, the passion is there, then you are able to support them, because the more organizations are available to support street connected children, the better the quality of service we give to these children. Next. Successes. I think some of these things have already been shared by Gilbert. When we introduced the issue of the International Day, it came out that a lot of organizations are doing some things on their own, but then coming together, we were able to amplify this activity and then give it a nationwide coverage. And so within the new, the media, social media, and the rest, all over, now people are looking up to the 12th of April and then wanting to see what are the issues and what we are talking about. And so, and then one other activity that was a success was the joint work, which has been said by Gilbert. Members are able to come together and work in each other's operational area. as a way of learning, as a way of supporting each other. So at the end of once every month, we have a joint street work. Next. Yeah, then by coming together now, various key stakeholder, various key national policy makers, including the Department of Social Welfare, the Ministry of Children, Gender, Children, and Social Protection, and all other government institutions that are dealing with children in general and street-connected children in particular, see us both as individual organizations and as a network, as a key stakeholder. And also, nothing is discussed on issues of street-connected children, even at the government agencies, without informing us or without inviting us. And we are one of the groups that do contribute to the drafting of policies in the area of working with street-connected children. And then, of course, members are also able to cite their membership of this organization or network as things they are proud of. And also, when they are talking to their donors and when they are talking to any other public forum, they mention that they are members of this network. And as we are doing all these things, our focus is making sure that street-connected, or we are supporting each other. At the end of the day, we ensure that street-connected children are safe wherever they are. Next. So in time of COVID, these are some of the interventions that we did jointly as a network in various cities. So in Accra, led by one member, and in each city we have a lead organization. And so everything is being organized around that lead organization. So whether it is helping children to understand how to wash their hands, getting them access to food during COVID lockdowns, or supporting them to learn how to put on the nose mask and use sanitary products in order to keep themselves safe from COVID infections. Next. And also, I want to talk briefly about this picture. You can see one of our beneficiaries was able to, through our support, was able to go to school. We pick some of these children from the streets, and they have progressed steadily in education to the level that some of them are now trained nurses, and they are proud and they make mention of the kind of support that we give them. And they always say that it was an invaluable support. And so you can see some of the work that we do with these street-connected children. Gilbert has talked a lot about the head count that we organize as a network, and within our own office without any external funding. We are able to put ourselves together and identify that there is an issue of data gap. And so we organize ourselves and we are able to go out there and get an important data, which as of now, the government and the state institutions are not quarreling about the data. It used to be just guesswork, but now they are able to correctly quote the numbers of street children in our small area that we work on. Next. Challenges, of course, there's challenges in such kind of work. One key challenge is, I'll talk about decision making. Sometimes you need to carry the members along. And so sometimes it takes a while. It's not like only your organization, within your organization, taking the decision and it goes. There are issues of funding, yes. And then technology also, because now what we have is network across the nation and in multiple cities, and it's lots more expensive to be going around for activities. But then now with the advent of technology, where we can sit anywhere and have meetings and have trainings, it would have been useful if everybody is technologically advanced to be able to have meetings, to have programs online, and only where there's the need to actually have the face-to-face. But then not every organization is in a position to use these tools to be able to have meetings. So sometimes once a while, we need to go around and then have meetings. And then I think Gilbert has talked about the issue of time. Organizations have their own schedules, and sometimes giving time to network activities becomes also a challenge. Yes, next. Way forward. We've identified that what normally puts us together is working together. It is something that binds the network. It binds the members. So it's not going to be, we don't want it to be like having meetings at the end of every quarter, discussing issues, and then issues will remain to the next quarter. And so we are looking at, we've tried a few times, we are still pursuing. Like if we have a project that is like a multi-city project, even if it is a data collection activity, so that it's going to be wherever our members are, we are supporting for each of our members to be able to maybe do a head count and have a concrete data about the number of sick children in their area. We are looking at that one, and we are trying to pursue that one. And in every city, we have an organization, because Muslim Family is based in Kumasi, which is centrally located, where we have group in Accra and we have group up north. And so in each city, we work around one key partner who rally organization within the city. So we're looking at trying to support them to be able to do independent work. And so there won't be the need for maybe me being the national coordinator to be present at any point in time, so that each organization will be able to manage activities within their city. And then other network members, we are looking at other collaboration, like Department of Social Welfare, the Department of Children. There are already groups that are there. And so we want to bond, or we want to have closer collaboration, because lots of other organizations who are not within our network are also having to work with Street Connected Children in one way or the other. And so we want to also work with them and ensure that they are also doing a quality work, or they are also serving Street Connected Children very well. Next. Thank you very much. I think that is the last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Great. Thank you, Tijani. And thank you, Gilbert. Thank you to both of you for sharing. It's really interesting to hear about that process that you've gone through on a national and a local level, and obviously lots of similarities and some things that I guess that you would have done differently to find those organizations and find those kinds of alliances with organizations doing similar work. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. One is around the kind of the work that you can achieve as a network. And it would be really nice to hear about an achievement that you're most proud of, which you just don't think you'd have been able to deliver without a network. It required a network to achieve that goal. It could be to Gilbert or Tijani.
Yeah, should I go first?
Yeah.
Oh, TJ.
I'll give it to to go. Yeah.
Okay, well, but today you have talked about that. So it was about the street headcount in Kumasi, which I think if by then, so looking at the resources and then what goes into it. So to be able to to put this together, staffs from every department. So CFC provided staffs, Muslim Family Council Services, and SafeChat. So that network made things easier. So for us to carry on with that as a project. So for me, I think that is one of the great successes that our network has helped us to be able to get. And then this data is really working. A lot of people are using this data to be able to plan their projects and then also make other policies.
Thanks, Gilbert. And to you, Tijani,
Yeah,
PA, Chief Executive, has posed the opposite question in terms of thinking about what your biggest frustration or disappointment has been when trying to work as a network.
The challenge of working together, it's sometimes as you move along, I think, or my suspicion is that maybe the focus of some of the organizations change, and then so sometimes in the beginning, even though you make it clear, everybody, you have the network objectives, everybody seem to understand the purpose of joining the network, but then some other along the way, organizations begin to start talking about other things like, why are we not getting funds to do ABC? You as a network leader, why don't you look for funding for us to work? Instead of all of us knowing that we are doing what we are doing to support our work. And so, for instance, as Gilbert said, this data that we've got, all of us are using the data. All the members are using the data, and it's working. Last week, SafeChat brought some of their donors, and we're talking about the head count, and the donors were interested in the reports. And the only one I have in my office, they told me that, they need it. They want to go and have a look at it. And one greatest, I will add in relation to this one greatest success was the government not opposing the data, because it used to be the government will say, all of you organization, you are just mentioning data all around. Sometimes they think that you are mentioning data because you want to use it to raise funds. But now, when we did a concrete work and we met them, we told them, this is the report. We showed them the way or the processes in which we went through to gather those data. They were really quiet because they've seen that it is a real data. And so all of us pull resources together. But then some places, sometimes people expect that by joining the network, then they are getting access to funds. And so it becomes a challenge. And sometimes there's one key organization who was in Kumasi, and now the focus has changed. They are doing another project that is not related to Street Connected, even though they will say we are still working with Street Connected children. By then, it's not that. And so that is one of the frustration. And people will say, we need money. So you are not showing us how we can get money. And so, and then objectives of serving the children becomes a secondary matter to some of them. Yeah.
Thank you. You've touched on it a little bit, I think both of you in your presentations, but we have a question from Legal Awareness Watch in Pakistan about the kind of criteria for organizations and individuals to be members of the network. Is that something that you'd be able to speak to a little bit?
Yeah, the criteria is basically simple, but we're looking for credible or the credibility of the organizations. And so we invite people, we are sharing, we make sure that you are registered, you are legally registered, and you renew your licenses to be a legally registered organizations. Another one is that we want to be sure that you are actually working with and for street connected children. And so in my presentation, I made mention of visitations and then working together, because despite all the documents that the organization will show you, sometimes you go onto the ground and you see that it is not what they do. And so we spend some time visiting them, we spend some time working together. We visit them, we go to the field with them, we participate in some other activity. We also invite them to some of our activities, and we try to get to know the real organization. And so if you are credible, you are actually working with street connected children, and these are some of the things. For individuals, yes, we're looking at people who have passions and people who want to do some kind of work with street connected children. And so that is one of the most important criteria that we do look for. Gilbert, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Oh no, like I said, that's that. So I think it's okay.
Great. Thanks, Tijani. And I think just one more question. And again, I think you both touched on it when you were talking about some of the challenges of working as a network and that kind of joint ownership over the projects and the initiatives that you do. And I think you even mentioned that some, interventions are led by different members. So there is that kind of shared ownership within the network. But we've got a question from Comfort Ali around how you manage the network from being kind of, I guess, taken over, or kind of stronger voices within the network from both individuals and NGOs. How you try and make sure that it's the network's not taken over by kind of personal agendas, and how you maintain that kind of sense that everybody's working together. If you've got any tips around that.
I think, yes, that is a real concern, and it's sometimes happens at one point or the other. But then if you are first of all, as you said, you need to be clear about the governance structure and then the leadership rules, and who is managing what. In as much as we try to ensure that each member take a role within the organization, because we don't want dormant, some to just sit back and then just be participants. We want everybody to contribute at least in whatever capacity or whatever expertise that you have. Then the key thing is we try to steer everybody back to the objectives of the network. And so if and decisions about what to do and how we do it mostly is taken as a collective group. And so no individual organization will go ahead and do whatever he or she thinks or will impose this or an agenda on everyone. So, and once decisions are taken, we'll also make sure that we also agree on who to lead which activity. And so, and we also try to spread it around. And so even within one activity that we're doing, we ensure that lots have roles to play. And so, for instance, this year in Accra, when we were doing the International Day, even though there is a lead organization for organizing everybody in Accra, but then other organizations were also supporting them. And we are also clear about what we want to achieve. What we are doing, agreed, clear with the work plan, and then each one is also contributing to it, so that one organization will not veer everything to his or her field, or will not impose his or her agenda on everyone. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Tijani. I appreciate, really a tricky issue, but I think one that'd be really interesting for everyone to hear more about in terms of how you've gone about that. So our plan for this session, after the presentations, and very much linked to what Tijani and Gilbert were speaking about in terms of the headcount project that they mentioned that they've done as a network, we're going to have a short breakout group discussion. So we'll have 10 minutes in a breakout group where we want everybody to kind of consider that scenario. So imagine that you need to gather data on the number of street connected children in your area of operation, something I'm sure many of you will have discussed or done or considered doing, given the kind of real lack of data. And there's no external funding for this. So in your groups, we just want people to kind of go through and discuss how you'd go about finding other organizations to work with on this, how you would identify them and persuade them to be involved, especially given that there's no external funding available. What you would use the data for, how could you incorporate it into your advocacy work, funding applications, any other things that you think that the data could be used for, and how you would disseminate it if we have time to move on to that. But I think those first 2 points in particular, the one around how you'd find other organizations, would be, I think, a really good thing to discuss as a group. So we're going to go into 3 groups. So Tijani will be in one and Gilbert in the other, and I'll be in one as well, so that we can kind of discuss. And then if each group could nominate one person to come back and just share a couple of the key points that came out of your discussions, we'll come back in 10 minutes time and have those kind of that feedback and then wrap up the session. Welcome back.
Hello, Jackie.
Hi. I hope that you're
yeah, welcome back.
Hello, Jessica.
I think everybody's back now. So it would be really nice to hear from the 3 groups some of the kind of key points that came out of your discussions. I can kickstart us from our group, unless anyone else from the group wants to volunteer. I'll go ahead. So in our group,
yes, you can take the lead.
Okay, thanks, Sylvester. In our group, we talked about the importance of setting expectations. So everybody knows that this is about data collection, and that's the kind of setting the parameters of what the particular project is that you're looking at. So being clear on objectives, being clear on the period that you're looking at, so the period of time. We talked about looking at which kind of structures, child protection systems or district or local councils might have budget, or ministries might have budget to support something like this, if the organizations that you've looked at don't have resources. So looking at where there might be budget and appetite to do this kind of data and research. Thinking about establishing linkages outside of those structures. So looking at working with individuals and groups who provide meals, for example, so regularly providing meals at lunch and in the evening, to try and involve them in the headcount. So organisations that have a lot of contact time with street connected communities. And lastly, we talked about the importance of kind of looking at whether this has been done before. So identifying previous data collection or headcounts and replicating the model to update the data rather than starting from scratch. Those are the main points from our group. Tijani, did you want feedback from yours or someone else from your group?
I think Pia will feedback from our group.
Great.
Yeah, really happy to. We didn't spend a lot of time on the actual bit of how to work together as a network, but very quickly we had a little bit of discussion at the beginning about how we'd get funding and why there was a gap in funding, but very quickly kind of moved into actually the technical challenges. We jumped into the doing of the activity. So the technical challenges of doing a head count. So Samad from Lahore was talking about the big challenging question of definitions, clarity of definition, who are you counting? And does everyone have a shared definition? Comfort talked a lot around existing data sets and especially working with government, as did Kelvin from Kenya. But we also talked about how to build on existing activities. So Kelvin was talking about, which I think ties in with the last group, about how you can use existing activities to try and build them into headcount activities and working across organizations. So I think, Tijani, have I left anything out?
Yeah, I think you've gotten largely everything. I think
Nice.
also issue mostly about broadening the scope or bringing on board lots of other organizations. So how you can identify more organizations with beyond the members that you have within the network. And so if you go to the Department of Children, right, who has a lot of database about other organizations, then you can know which organization is working well so that you can bring them on board and also work with them. Yeah.
You're on mute, Jessica.
Jessica, you are muted.
Sorry. Gilbert, someone from your group?
Yeah, okay. So my group, they've now hung the burden on me to share it with you. So they said I should do that. Okay, so with our group discussion, so we're looking at how do we as an identify other organizations so that we can work with them. So we said, okay, so then we would have to hold a workshop within the region where we would want to work with, and then send invitations to other key stakeholders and then other institutions where we can get invites, so where we can invite other people to join us. So through this workshop, then we would let other organizations know our mission, the vision, what we would want to do, and the like-minded organizations would also join if they are willing to support us, and tell them why we would want to do that and why we need their support. So that is how we can persuade them for them to become involved. Then we're also looking at what would we use this data for. Now, so data has been an issue in Africa, definitely. So collecting data and then updating data is an issue. So we would use these new data where to update the existing data that we have, and then to also tell the story of street connected children as well. So let them know the numbers, let them know that indeed the problem really exists. So we need to create that safety net for them. Then how do we disseminate our findings? So it's either we published it through the social media, the same way that we also started, as in bringing people together to tell them what we want to do. So at the ending, we would also hold another workshop again to also share our findings to other organizations and how they can be able to use this data. So we couldn't finish until the breakout ended. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Gilbert. I think for me, it's this kind of session and especially the conversations in the breakout group have really kind of pinpointed some of the huge benefits of working within a network, but also some of the big challenges that come up that both Tijani and Gilbert spoke about in the presentation, and that kind of came up in our group as well, about finding those organizations who you can collaborate with, overcoming some of the difficulties around funding and shared goals and setting objectives. So it's been really interesting, and thank you so much, Tijani and Gilbert, for sharing with us about the work that you've been doing in Ghana. If anybody wants to kind of find out more about anything that Tijani or Gilbert have spoken about, I'm sure we'd be happy to kind of share information about the headcount and the process that they went through. So do get in touch. I'll share my email in the chat, or Gilbert and Tijani, you feel free to share yours and people can get in touch with you directly. I saw there was a question about the slides. We can send those out as well, and there'll also be the recording of the session that we can share once it's finished and once the sessions have completed over the week. Apologies again for the slow start. Hopefully that will be the only blip throughout the week, and the rest of the sessions will run smoothly. Next of which is taking place today, so in just under an hour, at 2 p.m. we're going to have our annual memorial lecture. So Pia will be in conversation with Cedric Foussard, looking at the work that he's been doing, and speaking about the kind of the theme and street connected children's experiences of the police and discrimination within the justice system. So I think something that will definitely be of interest to quite a few people on this call. And then we've got our session tomorrow morning, which looks at a kind of similar issue, and looking at kind of law enforcement and street connected children, and how we approaches to building trust, which is another theme that's come out quite strongly from the two sessions that we've had. So I hope everyone will be able to join us for those. The Zoom link that I put in the chat is for the session that's taking place at 2 p.m. So if anyone hasn't registered and wants to join that, you can just use that Zoom link to join. But if you registered on Eventbrite, you'll have been sent that as well. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you again to Tijani and Gilbert for sharing with us, and looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you again at 2 p.m.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you everyone. Have a great day or evening, wherever you are.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Nice talking to you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.